Hello and welcome to our session on learning to read at Rangeview Primary School. Today we will be sharing the strategies we use at school to teach your child to read, and we will also share what you can be doing at home to help your child. We hope you gain a lot from this session. Many people believe that learning to read is as natural as learning to speak. This is actually not the case. Learning to read is quite a complex task and develops through a lot of practice. The good news is, though, that what you can do at home to support your child is easy. A large body of research known as the science of reading has outlined the evidence-based methods of teaching that are proven to be the most effective. There are 5 essential components to learning to read, which all culminate in comprehension, which of course is our ultimate goal. These are known as the 5 pillars of reading: phonemic awareness, phonics, fluency, vocabulary, and comprehension. At Rangeview, we teach each component of reading. Today we will demonstrate what we teach and how you can help at home. Phonemic awareness is the ability to hear and manipulate sounds in spoken words. It's critical for success in reading and spelling. Good readers are remarkable at manipulating sounds in words with automaticity. At Rangeview, we explicitly teach these skills to the students. It involves the important skills of segmenting, which is breaking words into sounds, and blending, which is putting them back together to make words. We teach the students to understand each sound has a part to play in words. For example, if we're focusing on the beginning sounds, we would say to the children, say cat. Change the k to a b, and the word is, they will say, bat. And if we're focusing on the end of a word, we may say sat. Change the t to a d, and the word is sad. Lastly is our medial sound, our middle sound. And we might say to the children to really focus on that vowel sound. So if the word is men and we change the e to an a, the word will be man. This is just one example of hearing and manipulating sounds. At home, you can teach your children to rhyme by reading rhyming books to them. Highlight the rhyming words in the books and help them to learn to make up words that rhyme with those words. You could even make up silly sentences in the car. For example, see you later, alligator, or cats rule, dogs drool. Phonics is the study of the systematic relationship between the sounds we hear in words and the letters that spell them. This is called the alphabetic principle. When children understand the alphabetic principle, they understand that spoken words are made up of individual sounds and that letters can represent those sounds. Understanding phonics allows students to decode, sound out, and encode, blend together, words. Did you know that the sound k can be spelt as a C, a K, CK, or even CH, as in school? That's phonics. Decoding is the act of sounding out words using phonics and the ability to apply the knowledge of letter-sound relationships and letter patterns so that they can correctly pronounce written words. In Foundation, Grade 1 and Grade 2, we are teaching the students all about the different sounds that are in words and the spelling options for those sounds. And in turn, this is helping them, in effect, crack the code of how to sound out words and how to write words. Little Learners Love Literacy is the program Rangeview has chosen to implement systematic sequential reading and writing lessons. This program was chosen due to its strong base and the fun factor that it has, which helps the children to make connections with their learning. Foundation and One parents would be very familiar with the many characters and celebrations the children encounter throughout this learning journey. Milo Monkey's surprise party is just one example, which marks the end of the first 26 sounds that the students have learnt in their foundation year. We follow a set scope and sequence that develops sequentially, commencing with the initial short sounds of the alphabet. At Rangeview, this scope and sequence is implemented across levels Foundation to Year 2, taking more time to allow the students to gain a deeper understanding of what they are learning. Whilst teaching the sounds, we teach our students to segment, break apart, and blend put together words to enable reading and writing. This program ensures a strong link is made between reading and writing. Students understand that they can break apart words to read them and they can put them back together to spell them. One aspect of this learning is incorporating decodable readers. These are written to deliberately ensure that the students only read sounds that they have been taught. This enables them to read books successfully. They focus on developing this skill until they are fluent and all the sounds of the English language have been taught and they are blending them together. At this time, they will then move on to age-appropriate rich literature that they have learned as they have learnt the skill of decoding and encoding and they know all their sounds. If you are a parent helper with this reading program, it's very important that the students only take home the books in their allocated stage. Otherwise, this can impact their learning and confidence. If you have had children come through with our previous reading program, you will remember that we had levelled books. Decodable books and levelled books do not correlate at all. Please do not compare the numbers as they are completely different programs. We ask children to keep their decodable reader for 2 nights. The first night is to practice reading by decoding, breaking apart the words and blending to put them back together to read the words. Blending can be a difficult skill to learn as a beginning reader. The next night is to practice reading with fluency, so only sounding out those words that they don't know. Once they know the word and can recognise it, they learn to just read the word. At home, you can take advantage of the Decodable Readers online subscription. Your login details can be found inside your reader cover. This can give you access to additional readers if you would like to use them. There's also the Nessie program, which is a reading and spelling online program that you have access to. Again, the login details are inside your reader. This is an explicit phonics program that builds on the skills of your child. So it is one that you can use at home to practice some of the skills they are learning at school. The other thing, of course, is that we really encourage you to read books to your children. So having that example of rich literature and the enjoyment of reading and understanding new words all comes from you reading to them. Here we have a number of activities we use in the classroom to teach students how to read and write. Students will work with their teacher in whole class lessons, individually and in small groups. Students are first introduced to the Little Learners Love Literacy characters through a picture storybook and chitter-chatter chant cards. This helps the students associate a sound with a character, which assists in working towards automatic recall of those sounds. Students learn how to form letters correctly and complete craft activities associated with sounds. During whiteboard work time, the students decode, sound out, and encode, blend words. Learning to blend, as I said before, can be very challenging for some students. In Foundation and Year 1, the students practice sentence level work to ensure that they can transfer their learning from the sounds to words to sentences and ultimately to pieces of writing. Some students come to school already reading, which is fabulous, and we truly encourage that. But it is very important for the teachers to look carefully at how the students are reading. Sometimes students are coming memorising a lot of words, and as this is not really an efficient way to learn, we really need to back up and teach the children how to break those words down. The reason for this is that memory is limiting. We usually find by the end of around grade 2, when the students are moving into more complex words that they need to learn to chunk, if they have survived off memorising words, this becomes a tricky time for them. If at the beginning of school we can really teach them how to crack that code and break down the sounds in words, we find that they have much more success in their learning to read. What are heart words? Heart words are words that we need to learn off by heart because we cannot sound out the entire word. There are many frequently used words that fall into this category, and we explicitly teach these words individually. Sometimes the heart words are words because the child has not yet learnt the sounds in the word. For example, kind, k, I, n, d. At this stage in Foundation, the students have not learned that the letter I has more than one sound. But by grade 1, they would know that the letter I has both a short I sound and a long I sound. So therefore, this word would no longer be a heart word. Or in the case of said, it will always be a heart word because part of the word is not spelt the way it is sounded. If we sound out said, s-e-d, the middle sound sounds like an e, but we spell it with ai. So we have to explicitly teach this to the students. Reading, learning sounds, reading decodable books, learning to sound out and blend words, and learning to read heart words are all steps in teaching phonics. Here we have our third pillar in learning to read, fluency. Fluency is the ability to read with speed, accuracy, and expression. Learning to decode and read accurately is essential for reading fluently. Once a child learns to decode and encode and has a strong foundation in phonemic awareness and phonics, they can begin to practice their fluency. When students cannot recognise words accurately and automatically, fluency suffers, and in turn, comprehending what they're reading is compromised. This is why at home we ask you to keep the reader for a second night and to work on reading the book more fluently once they are aware of the storyline. Our fourth tier is vocabulary. Reading vocabulary is all the words that a student needs to recognise and understand when reading. Reading comprehension is reliant on knowing 98% of the words in the text, not just knowing how to read the word, but knowing what the word means. Building an understanding of the meaning builds background knowledge and assists students to make those connections necessary to read and write effectively. There are 3 types of vocabulary words. Tier 1 is the most common. These are the basic words that are used in most students' everyday language, like cat, dog, chair, teacher, etc. Tier 2 vocab words are more complex contextual words that students may encounter in texts and often need more direct instruction, like describe or sort, words that you cannot link to a visual clue. Tier 3 words are genre-specific, subject or low-frequency words. For example, in maths, we use words like perimeter or area. We teach these words when they are relevant to the learning occurring in the classroom. Talking to children about the meaning of new words is a critical part of learning to read. Children link what they already know to their reading, so the more they experience and learn, the better the reading becomes. You reading to your child also helps to build vocabulary, so do take the time to stop and recognise new words and talk about them and understand their meaning. Limited vocabulary plays a huge role in poor reading comprehension, so we really do encourage you to work on this at home through rich literature. Also, when you're out and about or experiencing something new, do think about the words that you're using, and if anything is new for the child, take the time to explain that too. It really does help them in their overall learning capacity. Here we have our 5th final pillar, comprehension. Comprehension is the ultimate goal for reading. It is understanding and interpreting what you have read. There are different levels of comprehending. So initially we are teaching the children some basic levels of understanding. As they progress through their schooling years, more complex and deeper understandings are developed. To be able to accurately comprehend written material, students must first be able to decode what they have read, understand the vocabulary of what they are reading, make connections to what they know, and think critically about what they have read. Sometimes when you read with your child, you may find that they are lacking an understanding of what they have read. Do give them a chance to go back and reread the story in their heads, so not aloud, because that is actually quite a separate skill. And by rereading the story silently, they have more chance of developing a real understanding of what they are reading. Learning to read is, of course, a very, very important life skill, because then we can take the learning and flip it to read to learn. And of course, that is how we move through our society. I hope that you have gained some real understanding about the 5 pillars today. Without the solid foundations of instruction of phonemic awareness, phonics, fluency and vocabulary, it's incredibly difficult to achieve strong comprehension. So now you can see all the important aspects that we need to teach explicitly to ensure that your child is learning to read effectively and efficiently. What can you do to help your child at home? Well, we ask you to have your child read to you every night, practicing their decoding, so sounding out words, blending those words back together to read, and then also practicing their fluency, so only sounding out the words that they really need to and building up their fluency each night with those decodable readers. Your chance to look at comprehension, children understanding what they're reading, happens when you read with them. So some of the decodable books don't really have a great storyline, particularly at the beginning of the stages. So that's where our rich literature comes in, and having you read to your child as often as you can, have them thinking about the story and wondering and hearing new vocabulary and making connections. All of those things are contributing to the fluency, the vocabulary, and the comprehension skills that we have been talking about. We encourage you, as I said earlier, to talk about new words or situations that you come across in books and in real life with your child. You can make connections to what they already know. And a way to help them with their phonological awareness, so their hearing sounds in words, is to pick out some nice rhyming books and practice the skill of rhyming. What to do if they get stuck? So this is a little bit different to what we've previously asked parents to do. We've asked them now to look very closely at the word, ask the children to put their finger under the word and really work on sounding out the word and then blending those sounds together. Asking themselves, did that word sound right? And then rereading the whole sentence to see if they can gain some meaning. So basically just doing what you do, trying to get some practice of the decoding with those simple decodable readers and remembering to read to your children whenever you can. So here we have the 5 pillars of reading again. We hope that you can see the important elements that we teach your children and how they come together to build confident readers. As we progress through school, we continue to develop these skills on a deeper level through the use of age-appropriate stories and activities. Today I've focused predominantly on the early stages of reading with the explicit teaching of phonemic awareness, hearing sounds and manipulating sounds in words, phonics, connecting those sounds to letters and being able to write and read words, fluency, being able to read at a pace that is connected to understanding and comprehension, and vocabulary, the importance of learning many new words through experiences and books that will help make connections with what the children are reading, and that all culminates in comprehension, understanding what we read. We hope that this has been useful for you today, and I would just like to leave you with a quote on the next slide. Science of reading is inextricably linked to the love of reading. To teach and inspire the next generation, we simply can't have one without the other. Louisa Moats, 2020. We would like to thank you for taking the time to understand how we teach reading at Rangeview, and we encourage you to do what you can at home and really develop that love of reading too. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to get in contact with the school. Thank you.